My name is Nick Rested. I am a co-owner and CEO of a company called CoreTactic. And today, our third episode in our webinar series is What is Life Coaching and How to Reach Your Personal Goals. And we have our excellent and amazing Annie Williams and Jeffrey Elliott on with us, both certified and have a lot of experience in life coaching. So today the agenda is going to be, we're going to do some welcome introductions. Jeffrey's going to take us through some statistics and what is life coaching. We're going to talk about why to hire a life coach. What kind of situations would that really be helpful in? And when to hire the life coach. And then also what are the benefits and the typical format of a life coaching session. And from what I've been told, there's a role-playing exercise today. Are there volunteers from the audience needed? Is this audience participate? Okay, good. So, okay, we won't have everybody just kind of drop off at some point because they're randomly getting picked. Okay, good. Let's see here, and then we'll have questions, and the drawing will be at the end. So everybody that's not with CoreTactic, will have a chance to win one of two $50 gift cards. So that and this is one of the quotes that really solidified a lot for me at the beginning of building CoreTactic. And I'm going to read the whole thing. Probably shouldn't, but I'm just going to do it. It's kind of not good form for presentations. But your work is going to fill a large part of your life. And the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. And the only way to do great work is to love what you do. So if you haven't found it yet, keep looking. Don't settle. As with all matters of the heart, you'll know when you find it. I think that's really, really critical because that's what we're all about at CoreTactic. How do we help people get more fulfilled with their life and their career? We're a personal and professional coaching organization, and we help people all across the country with a variety of different situations. We're working with a photographer, we're working with an actor, we're working with some executives. We have folks that just need some guidance and direction. We have 11 coaches. We're across all of the time zones. And then I have just a bunch of organizations that we partner with and work with. And now we're on to our intros, and I've already gone ahead and I think pretty much done my intro. So I'm going to hand it over to Jeffrey to do his intro. I'm going to turn off my camera. Take it away.
Great, thank you, Nick, and for being here. This is gonna be fun. And then everyone that's participating. It's always great to jump into something like this and just share about your passion. So, Jeff Elliott, I have over a decade of management consulting experience, embedded with coaching as well, typically focused on behavior change and marketing strategy. So, think widespread or large global transformation, and maybe you're an executive and you needed help, understanding how you're gonna get from point A to B, and maybe helping a cohort of leaders or even the folks working for you. How do they drive the adoption and everyone kind of get to the same place by the end of the time that was specified. So that's the executive side. I also do, like Nick was saying, life coaching as well. And that's pretty much about me. I'm so excited to be here, and I'll pass it to Anne for her intro.
Thank you. I'm Annie Williams, so I'm a certified holistic life coach. So I really focus on coaching the whole body, mind, body, spirit, helping people achieve their personal and professional goals, but also their overall well-being goals. I do also have 20 years of the corporate experience, so I have built many teams over the last 2 decades, growing leaders personally and professionally, so on both sides. So I'm going to give it back to you, Jeffrey. If Nick, you could hit the slides to talk about why hire a life coach. Oh, I lied. It's all about the stats.
No, we're good.
No, well, yeah, we'll start off with by the numbers, and just talk about some of the the strong data behind why life coaching. And there are a lot of people out there that are actually seeing a lot of benefit from life coaching. I'm currently even pursuing some more education in the field, and and it's against the backdrop of the International Coaching Federation. There are other organizations that accredit coaching. This just happens to be one of the authorities globally. So interestingly enough, 73% of people, and this is all, by the way, coming from a global research study or global research studies by the ICF, 73% of people actually found that life coaching helped them improve in areas like soft skills, their personal lives, interpersonal relationship building, and that kind of thing. So it's just important to, kind of point out that you don't have to be a part of a business to talk to a life coach. It could be something that's personally important to you, or something, a goal that you want to accomplish that's not necessarily in your professional life. We have all kinds of coaching that we can offer. 68% of individuals, the next point here, were, who hired coaches saw that they were able to see their investment return, and that's really important because, this is a personal development service, right? And it's hard to want to maybe sign up for one if you don't see what is the actual financial benefit. And so with that in mind, we've seen this in the past, like 68% of people have seen ROI. And what's more, 7 times the investment for some folks. So it's just something to kind of point out, a couple of data points that anchor us in, that there is science and math and, according to the finances behind this kind of service. So on the next slide, we'll talk a little bit more about, what is life coaching? So again, that name I just brought up, the ICF, the International Coaching Federation, their definition talks about partnering with clients in a thought-provoking and creative way. And I think that's really the biggest piece of this. We want to be curious. We want to have childlike curiosity, and we want to open up, build some rapport as coaches, and help clients through a really cool, thought-provoking, and creative process. So not much more to say about that, but that's a general definition that is kind of shared throughout. So what kind of tactics would, an Anna or myself use in a session with a client? Like I said, it's collaborative. So it's really about the conversation. We're trading ideas between one another, or if it's a group, between myself or ourselves and whoever is on the other side of the table or in the room. Open, constant communication, constant open communication. And I think that's important because typically, and we'll talk about it later, it's rare that you'll just do one coaching session. So like I say, we'll talk about, more details about that later, but it's going to be a journey that you're embarking on with the coach. If you decide to, kind of take advantage of the services. And so that communication piece is really important. And again, it's usually not a one-time conversation. So the more and more that you invest in that communication, the more open it becomes, the more comfortable it becomes, the more magic happens between, a coach and their clients. Active listening, like I said, curiosity before. One of the more important ones here, two of them, are that it's goal and action oriented. So we'll talk about the difference between this and other things here in a second, but yeah, we're really focused on action, goals and action. And then, that I kind of said it with the communication aspect, but the brave and safe space, like we really want to create a space in which both the coach and the client can share openly and know that there's going to be things like confidentiality and intentionality and, just a program tailored for that person. So I just want to talk about those kind of things just to give you an idea, and then share a little bit more about, life coaching before I hand it back over to Ann. And actually, I'll hand it back over to Ann.
Okay, so you just did a great job explaining what coaching is. So let's take a minute and talk about what life coaching is not. So I get this question a lot from, I would say 90% of my clients, is how is coaching different than therapy? So I am not a therapist. I don't know, Jeffrey, if you are, but I am not a licensed therapist. So it is a lot different. If you go in to talk to therapy or counseling, it usually has to do with things that have happened in your life prior. So they're very past focused. So trauma, emotions that have happened in the past, and they try to fix that to the present moment. Life coaching really is a future oriented coaching where we really focus on individuals to set what goals they want to achieve next. So where are you today, and how do we get you where you want to be personally or professionally? Whereas counseling and therapy is really more the backwards look to get you to who you want to be the best person today. And the other big part is therapy, consulting, counseling. They're all about giving you advice, right? It's all about you tell me your problem, I give you the solution. And coaching is really not like that. Coaching, we work together to achieve the goal. It's all about you already have it within you. We just bring it out, right? And we show you how you can use the tools you have to get to the goals that you want to accomplish. So those are really the big differences between that. If you want to go on to the next slide, and we'll talk about why you would hire a life coach. So there's a lot of words on this. I'm not going to read all the words. I know that you guys can read those slides, but most people tend to hire or look for a life coach when there is a situation happening in their life, whether it's a challenge, a transformation. I always say if you're feeling stuck in something and you really don't know how to move past it, it's always really nice to talk to someone with an unbiased opinion who can help you kind of see, okay, what is the next step in that? Also, if you tend to be a person who has goals but never get closer to accomplishing them, right? We all have New Year's resolutions. We might have 10 things we want to do, and it is now almost December. Those 10 things might not have been accomplished, right? And so a life coach can help you set expectation guidelines, milestones, timelines, things like that. Another reason would be a career change or a life transition. So it doesn't have to be you want to change careers. It could be you're getting married, you're having kids. Those are all life transitions as well. Or if you feel like you're experiencing burnout or you're almost experiencing burnout, there's a reason for that. And working with a coach can help you avoid those burnouts and move forward in a more positive mindset for that. Nick, can you switch to the next? All right, so then we go into the benefits, which are very close to why you would hire a life coach. But I would say from my personal clients, the biggest benefit they say they have with hiring a life coach is the unbiased accountability partner that they have. That is a lot of times when you set goals or you have life dreams that you want to accomplish, no one is really holding you to that, right? And so it's a lot easier to put that off for another week or put that off for another month. But when you're working with someone as a partner, they're going to hold you to that. What was the homework last week? What did you accomplish? Did we get point A to point B? Also, building confidence is a huge benefit to having a life coach. So they can show you, again, what's already inside of you and that personal empowerment. Learning how to be mindful and intentional in what you do. We all are busy, but we might not be productive, right? So having those intentions, we can help you set what that intention is and if you're on the right course for that. My personal favorite is focusing on health and well-being because I believe that your mindset, your overall health plays a big part in your life and how you choose to live that. Also building relationships, how to advance your career, and really just guiding you through any life changes that might be going on. Those are the big benefits of life coaching.
I just put a question out in the chat, something I was actually curious about. So Annie, for like career development, how would you work with a client who wants to change careers, like change industries completely?
So first I would go through the whys, right? There's always a why. Is it a current boss? Is it a passion? Is there an issue with burnout in the one that you are in? Luckily for us, we work with amazing business coaches as well. And we have a team that we can bring in if there's certain areas that they want to develop. I believe we now, Nick, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there's 5 or 6 different career coaches
Yes.
that CoreTactic can help with. Not only that, with the coaching aspect, but resume building and updating your LinkedIn. Those are huge things that CoreTactic in general help with. So it wouldn't just be life coaching. We could also pull in the career coaching and development.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions before we move on to the next slide?
All right. Thank you, Ann. So we we are at a point where we can talk about what to expect, generally about the format of a session. So it might look like a long list to folks. I would argue that this is nowhere close to comprehensive. So, but just to give you a flavor of like what goes on in those conversations, we've kind of shared this, and I'll just talk about each point here, just briefly. So the opening is, and we're gonna hopefully get to demonstrate some of this here in a second. So, the opening is, just kind of getting back into the swing, getting your mindset ready for that session, for that conversation. Hopefully you're not bringing too much from the outside in, and it's going to be a clear and very intentional space for the coach and client to work through. A lot of times we might be sharing some stories, we might be catching up over the weekend, things like that. It's not as formal as it sounds. One big piece, and I mentioned this earlier, but confidentiality, I usually try to say something about that. So again, a reminder that, when you're talking to a coach, it's like, hopefully you don't have to worry about, whether they're going to go and talk about your story to someone else. So confidentiality is really important. We might recap the last session. I mean, it depends on where you're coming in. Sometimes it might be the first session, for instance, and so we wouldn't be doing that. Obviously, the number 2 wouldn't actually apply. But if you've been meeting for like 1 or 2 or even 3 sessions, and you've started to get into a flow, and there's this accountability thing that that we talked about earlier, right? We're talking about, what did you do? Like, what was your success over the last week? I generally ask it like that too. I'm not even gonna lie. It's hey, tell me how much you accomplished based on what we talked about last session, right? So not a lot of room to it's either you did it or you didn't. And so if you did do it, great, or the things, or the one thing, whatever it is, okay, cool. And if you didn't, that's cool too. We talk about like what got in the way. There's nothing about shame. It's nothing about, making someone feel bad. It's just, you're spending money, and both the client and the coach spend time in these conversations. So you want to be able to get what you can out of it, or as much as you can out of it. So we'll talk about the summary of successes, like I said, or lack thereof. And then we go into a moment or moments where we actually would kind of agree on what is the topic we're going to talk about. And this is important because it kind of sets the stage for, what you came for that, that separate amount of time that you put aside, that allotted amount of time that you put aside, what you came to do. So we get really clear on the topic, discuss it a little bit, talk about things like, why do you want to do it? Maybe not say why, but like, you get the idea. It's kind of like, okay, what is it that's driving you to want to do that thing? And then we can kind of identify goals, and maybe there are tasks. I don't know about you, Ann, but I try to stay away from more than 1 or 2 goals in a session. If it's going to be multiple sessions long, and it's kind of like an engagement or a program that you're signing up for, you might have this one big goal that you're tracking, but it might have a bunch of small subtasks under it. And so it might be that you go through 2 or 3 subtasks in a call, but they're still pointing back to that original goal that you wanted to accomplish. So just trying to get, there is a certain amount of rigor attached to this, but it's by design. And I promise, because I get coached too. Coaches get coached, just like therapists get therapized, or they go and get therapy, and so on and so on. I can speak from experience on my own that it's not so painful of a process to go through. It sounds like I use the word rigor, but it's not as daunting as you think, or hopefully it's not. So after we've identified the goals, we're gonna kind of just talk about next steps. And again, a next step could be a task or 3 tasks, or it might be just the one goal, and it's just like what steps we need to take to get there. There's going to be a little bit of commitment talked about, because like I said, that whole accountability thing, this is probably the 3rd time it's mentioned, but just know that's really important, the accountability aspect. So going to ask you about committing to it. Like, hey, this sounds great. I know that you did really well with this one thing before. Let's keep the momentum and talk about what are the next steps. And then after that, typically there's a summary or summaries, wherein your coach hopefully will ask you what you're going to commit to, and then after you as a client have committed, thought through what you could do, and it's happening real time, it's organic. The coach will hopefully go into a time where they just summarize the things that you've just said, just so that there's an agreement, everybody's on the same page, and then there's a closing. And guess what? Like, we're going to go back in the next session and do the same thing. Recap of, hey, how did you do? Tell me about the success you experienced over the last week or 2 weeks or whatever the cadence might be. I see a question here. What is the cost? Nick, do you want to speak to the cost?
Yeah, so our rates right now are $125 an hour for business and or life coaching. But we do offer free services to recent grads and also veterans. So just wanted to throw that out there. So a typical session's $125. If you buy 2 or more, you get a 10% discount on your session cost as well.
That's awesome. Well, I like discounts, so I would encourage everyone listening to take advantage of that. That's great. So, and it helps us and it helps you as well a little bit financially. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if there are any other questions about the format, but if not, we can move to the fun activity. So there was a long list, the slide before. There's gonna be a quiz afterwards, so try to look for all that. No, I'm just kidding. There's not gonna be a quiz, but think about it, and the points that we've talked about throughout this call so far, especially that slide before. See if you can identify some of those things that are happening that we've kind of discussed. So Ann and I are gonna do a role play. Drum roll, please. All right, so Ann's we're gonna walk through maybe the opening and identifying the topic, or we might go further. We'll see what happens. But Ann and I are gonna kind of do this thing just so you can get a flavor of what it might look like if you were in a session. So, Ann, you ready?
I'm ready.
Cool, me too. Everybody else ready?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so Ann, it's great to see you again. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
Good. What's going on in life? How's the last week?
It went pretty well. I have some new goals that I want to talk to you about this week.
Oh, okay. That's exciting. Cool. Well, listen, before we jump into it, we've talked about this before, but I just wanted to kind of do some house cleaning, just to remind you of a few things about what coaching is, what it isn't, and then confidentiality. Is that okay before we get started?
Mm-hmm.
Great. Awesome. So, like we've talked about before, coaching is very much about us doing this thing together, right? If the magic happens when we are collaborating and I'm using curiosity to ask questions, you're asking questions, and we get a flow going. Hopefully in aims of getting you towards identifying and completing a goal. Now, what it isn't is me sitting on this side as a guru and giving you advice. There may be experiences that that I don't know. So as long as we anchor to that curiosity, I think we'll be okay. Is that all right with you?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay, perfect. And then just really quickly, just know that what we talk about today will not be discussed outside of this call or those listening. So just know that everything here in this space is confidential. Does that make sense?
Yes. Thank you.
Good. So tell me about these next steps. You said you had some goals in mind. I got excited.
Yeah, so I have a company and I really want to do a podcast. And I
Okay.
keep making excuses. It's been over a year of making excuses of not doing it. And so I thought that would be a great thing to work with someone to hold me accountable. But I have all these ideas and then all the steps that overwhelm me when
Sure.
I do it. So instead of moving forward, I do nothing.
Okay. That's interesting. I have a few questions for that. But before I jump into those, I'm going to be writing some things down. So hopefully that doesn't distract you. Is that okay?
That's perfect.
Perfect. So podcast, not the easiest of tasks, but really, really interesting one. That's a really fun one. What made you want to do a podcast?
Well, I have been doing a weekly newsletter
Okay.
on overall health and wellness for about 2 years now. And I feel like I can engage that audience better if I'm speaking. All right, and I'm big on podcasts. I listen to them every day when I'm walking. Some people don't like to read. And so I'm thinking
Yeah,
if I give them another option, then that would be, a good idea.
I love that. So, um, I love the idea of giving people options, tailoring the same or similar messages, but just across
Mhm.
different channels. That's brilliant. What kind of topics are these, by the way?
It's so my company is called Live Joy, so it's live healthy on purpose, choose joy every day. So it is
Okay.
anything that is wellness, overall wellness. So it could be things from morning routine to what foods you should eat to things journaling. It can be any area of wellness. So
Okay, great.
not just food and diet
Okay,
overall.
cool.
Yeah.
So you have an idea of topics and you know you want to do this podcast. Um, and then I also heard you say that there were a bunch of steps that you saw like in your head but weren't clear. So for the topic for today, is it that you want to, would you like to make a plan to get that started? Is that kind of what you're thinking?
Yeah. Like you just baby steps.
Baby steps. I love that. You know, a lot of times we try to take all the steps and then like you said, it
And
gets a
then I
little
do
confusing.
nothing. Yes.
I have it too. I have it too. Well, great. So topic for today, we're gonna work on a small plan, something with baby steps to kind of get you in the direction, and so you can hit the ground running on your podcast. That's great. What are you looking to by the end of the session, what would success look like?
Having some action that I can do within the next 7 days so that when we meet again, I have moved forward in some way.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And what does it mean? Why do this? What is it? How is it meaningful to you?
Well, I feel like this is more my purpose. I love to share information with people. People ask me constantly about this topic, wellness, and what they can do for themselves. So to give that content for free out to people really excites me. Since I'm already creating the content, again, just another way to kind of give it to people.
I love that. That's great. It's nice to be able to do something that you're passionate about, and hopefully, I mean, once you get started, and then like in 4 weeks from now, and you have a few episodes already in the podcast, and you have folks actually joining and like interested in your topics, you'll see that it was worth it, right? Because you had a little bit of passion about it, and so you're doing something that you love.
Exactly.
That's great. And just one question that was unclear for me: have you started anything on the podcast besides thinking through ideas? Name, this kind of
Nope.
thing. Okay. Okay.
No. Nope.
Cool. So, which of those do you think you would like to start with, or which one would make most sense to start with?
So I think what comes to my head, which is why I'm in the freeze mode,
Okay.
is what platforms, how do I record it, what type of microphone do I need, is there any podcasts or videos I should be watching?
Sure.
um, I'm one of those people who will do all the research and then feel like I need to do another year of research before I move forward.
Sure.
So I feel like having someone help me get to, okay, what to do this week and not feel overwhelmed with all of the stuff would be helpful.
Okay.
Hold me
Cool. And then,
accountable.
no, that's great. That's great. And then I heard a lot of how and what. Um, is there any why in there? I don't know. Maybe you already have that crystal clear in your mind, but I just thought I would ask.
The
So,
why that I'm doing it.
yeah, like how would you like the branding? How do you talk to people about that?
Well, I feel like the content that I create for my newsletter, I would just format into a conversation instead, and have the both pathways. Yeah.
I love that. And um, are you, in terms of, I hear platform, how to do it, equipment, videos, formatting, it sounds like you have, right? So the content's already there. That's a big piece of it. Have you heard of any platforms that you might prefer?
I have not.
Okay. So maybe there's something in there for you. I don't know. You said you were doing research already. So what
So
what
my
what kind
step
of
one
research?
should be research,
You
research
should go and do
platform.
research. Yeah, maybe. I mean, I'm asking you, like, does that seem like that would be worthwhile?
That's probably the first step that I've been too afraid to take. So yes.
Okay, great. And what kind of things will you look for when you look at platforms? Is it going to be a general search? Are there things that you have in mind?
um, I'm assuming general. Um, I would just want a free platform to be honest at
Okay,
this
free
point.
is important. So cost
Yeah,
is important.
cost
What
is
else?
important. Um, the ease of doing it. So I am not a tech person. I can learn, but I get very frustrated
Okay.
if it's difficult. So user friendly would be nice.
Okay. What else? We have
Um,
financial, so we have cost, we have ease of use.
um, I would say the ability to embed it into newsletters and things like that. So I guess
That's awesome.
yeah, how versatile it is and how it can be
Perfect.
shared. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, you already came up with 3 different criteria for a platform. Do you think there's anything else that you could add, or do these feel like they're, they can get you going and you can start a search?
I think that would be a good starting point for me.
Cool. So how are you going to use this information that you just came up with?
Well, my best friend Google. Um, I am going to commit to, by the time we meet next, um, searching at least 3 different uh, platforms to use, or licensings or tools, and see which one has the best reviews and which one, if they have free members. A lot of them will do free 7 days or something like that.
Sure.
Um, check those out and see. So I think I can commit to 3 different trials.
Okay. That's awesome. How was that? Was that helpful?
That was very helpful because this is what I have not done for a year and a half.
Well, I mean, you made it easy, so I assume I hate to assume, but I anticipate that it'll be just as easy for you to go through the research.
Okay.
So I'm gonna play that back to you real quick just to make sure I'm sure. I'm a little slow, so just keep me honest. I heard you say that in the next 7 days you're gonna start a Google search for some podcast platforms, up to 3. And the things that you're going to kind of, weigh each one by, the 3 that you choose on your short list, are going to be cost, ease of use, and whether it can, the flexibility and versatility of it. One example being, can I embed this thing with RSS or a link in my newsletter? Um, that's great. Oh, and then I heard you mention you would like to see free trials too. So that sounds like a pretty smart goal. Is there anything else that it's missing? Do you feel like you have what you need?
I think so. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. I think that's pretty inclusive. Yeah.
Great. So basically, in the next 7 days, you're going to have a podcast started, right? You're going to have it all figured out. No, I'm just
I
kidding.
would
But
love that.
but we did commit to those things I mentioned before. So with that sounds great, and you would already be on the way. So I look forward to hearing how successful you were next time. How was that sound?
Thank you. Yes. I will not let you down.
Well,
Oh,
it's not. You don't have to worry about letting me down. I'll be here either way. Very good. Well, Andrew, it was
Awesome.
great to talk to you. Thank you so
thank
much, and thank
you.
everyone for listening.
Good work. It was interesting how you you kept asking her questions, not saying, well, I think you need to do this or you should do that. Do you find it challenging to come up with questions to ask clients to get them to the spot they need to be?
Well, for me, not as challenging, and probably for the other coaches here at CoreTactic, because we're bringing tools and frameworks that people used before, that we know that work from experience. So it becomes less about the questions. I mean, those are really important, but as soon as you get into a flow, and you can listen for different triggers, it becomes that much more, that much easier to know what to ask next, because it's really about listening. So if you're thinking about what you're going to ask next, it might break the flow. But if you just stop and be you're in the moment, you're being mindful, it becomes a lot easier. That's my experience. I don't know, Anne. What about you, Annie?
No, I agree with that. I will say that through my corporate world life of being the problem solver, I had to learn that before even becoming a life coach, that
Oh,
when people come to me, stop solving their problems, ask questions, and let them grow as an individual instead of me solving their problems. And so that's what I really like about coaching is, I think we said at the beginning, it is all within you. We just help pull it out.
Mm-hmm.
I would
Exactly.
agree. I would agree with that 100%. Yeah, like it's consulting, like coming into this, it's very different. Um, so yeah. Anyways.
Any other questions for the group? Otherwise, I have a couple more. But my
Fire
questions are
away.
boring. Is there anybody out there with a question? Okay. So how long is a typical session?
Do you want me to answer that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. I would say normally 45 minutes to an hour. I try to keep it to 45 minutes, but it usually goes to 60 by the time we recap everything and work through what is needed for the next session.
Okay, cool.
Absolutely.
How many sessions should I initially sign up for? What do you see people typically do? Do they sign up for a ton of sessions or just one, or kind of what do you see out there?
Yeah, I can take that one in. So I was alluding to this earlier. While it's okay to choose just one session, that's better than nothing. And maybe it's a brainstorm that you need to do. There's some ad hoc type things that one
Mhm.
session is great. But typically like a 6 to 8 week program is generally like, what, I know it's like Nan, you and I talking earlier, like those are like what we kind of anchor to, because then you're having enough time to actually, one, change the behavior, and then two, like break into it. And then other stuff might come. You don't have to solve everything in the 6 to 8 weeks, but at least have one good goal, one or two good goals that you want to tackle. The other thing I would say is that you know, we're gonna have some kind of a consult earlier on, so don't feel like it's like overwhelmed that you have to come to the first session knowing everything. You may not even leave the last session knowing everything. I know I won't, or I wouldn't. But that we set up a consultation for that reason, so we can talk through like what is it that you want to do, like, and then the answer can be I don't know. We have tools for that. So it's really choose what's best for you. The 6 to 8 weeks just tends to be kind of a standard
Mhm.
standard format.
Okay. What's been kind of one of the biggest challenging situations you've been through as a coach? Maybe both of you can answer that.
Sure.
And
I'll let you go.
what was the outcome? Yeah. Want
In
to go
an
first,
actual
Annie?
in an actual session, Nick, or
Yeah,
just as a coach?
just in
Okay.
yeah, as a coach in general, working with someone, have you had a really challenging one, or have you had a client that you worked with towards a massive goal? And I'm just curious if you can share any kind of information about that.
I have one. I can kind of kick it off. So current client of mine is working on a graduate degree, postgraduate degree. And it's a big deal to like, kind of nail down the topic and like coordinate all the things that you need through the university, through who your advisor or advisors are, et cetera. And not to mention, this guy is like working and also teaching. He's teaching on at the university. So um, the challenge, I think, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but the challenge that I think for him becomes, having enough time to do the things that we said we're going to work on, because you have like these three big buckets, like school, and then you have the personal, and then you have your full-time job. So how do you just like take all of that and like make it work together? This guy's done an amazing job. We just got him his research question, which happened over like about a month. And it's not just the question, because that sounds like, oh, that's easy, but there's a lot of basic research he had to do, a lot of more advanced research he had to do. He had to go and kind of pitch this thing to his advisors, using it in some of his grad school class, and then bringing in folks that were a part of the program as well. So it's interesting. We started out with this one, what seemed to be small, goal of getting a question outlined, and it blew up into this big, like, here's my project. And now we're already looking to, in longer sight, we're looking to the end of his program, but like we even have a couple months of things that we want to get done together. So, like I said, the challenge is a lot of times having the time to do it. In this case, it's successful. Like he's been successful so far, but only time will tell. So,
Yeah, awesome. Good example.
thank
Annie,
you.
do you have one you want to share?
I wouldn't say a difficult client or situation, but one that's difficult for my clients is their confidence. And so
Hmm.
I have one currently, she's fantastic and she wants to change her entire career. She's in one industry right now. She wants to switch to another. And she's done some pro bono work in that other industry. And she just, when she was telling me about it, she lights up and she's so excited about all the stuff she does. And my next thing I said to her was, wow, you have a lot of experience in that. And then she
Hmm.
shoulders down. No, I really don't. And I was like, you just spent 15 minutes telling me all the wonderful things that you have done in this industry you want to go into, but she has no confidence because it wasn't a paying job for her. But experience doesn't equal pay, right? You still have the experience. And so we have been able to kind of build her confidence up, looking at what she does in her current role and saying these all transfer to that new industry. You do have the experience. You just need the confidence behind what you're doing. And it's really kind of special to watch someone kind of click and be like, wow, you're right. Like that is, I can do this. But confidence is a hard thing for a lot of people because they become people pleasers and they're more worried about what other people think than their happiness. And so when that clicks, you can really see it on their face when they just light up. And it's like, wow, I really can do what I want to do.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
awesome.
that aha movement or moment is like, as a coach, I'm not gonna like I even felt a little bit of it when you were talking about it. Like,
yes,
that is a very radiating, very fulfilling thing to experience. So gotta love that.
yes.
Yeah. It almost gives you a little bit of a high, when clients are moving in the right direction. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, another call for questions. Otherwise, we'll get into our drawing. Okay, let's see here. I think I got everybody on. If you're on and you're not with CoreTactic and your name is not here and you didn't win last time, let me know if I'm missing your name. I think this is right. Let's do one final check just to make sure. Okay, so here goes the first gift card. John Foy. So I'll be emailing you after, and we'll get you a gift card. And then the second person. Can you hear the little ticking noises that it makes? Tony Hall. Okay. So Tony and John, be on the lookout for a message from me, and we'll get your gift card going. Cool. Thank you, everybody, for your time and attention today for the webinar. We do these webinars every other week. And then we're also going to start some free meditation on our website and make that available for people too. The first meditation series or episode that we're going to do is called My Authentic Self. And it's about how you look at your value and what you value. So I'm excited to get this one released. Cool. Well, thanks, everybody. We will be sending out a feedback form at the end, probably in maybe about an hour. Renee will send something out, and looking forward to hopefully working with some of you. Thank you.
Thank you.